You suck that coffee. Don't worry, I got my own. Nice rich black coffee.
So,
It's all good.
how I ended up in Malaysia.
So what was it? Malaysia? It's like that's it.
Oh.
I can remember you talking about wanting to go, and I can remember you and I having a conversation about you were a bit I'm in an iron about it and how different it's going to be because I think you've been out there a couple of times, and then you were like,
Yes.
"That's it, I'm going to move there." So how did that come to be?
Actually, I kind of made the decision the first time I went, but I didn't really want to leave my dance school and my troupe, and I still to this day miss that. But basically, I got invited over there to teach and perform, and I was seeing someone that lived there that had moved there from Nottingham, and they and I went and stayed with them while he moved over there, and I went over there to teach and perform because I said I'm not going to visit you unless there's dance involved. So I went to visit, and then he kind of went, "Why don't you move over here? I'll help you get set up and stuff." So
all right, cool.
I went over, but that kind of fizzled out. I met my husband.
Okay, was that more of a platonic relationship where just like you're friends, or was it a bit more than that, and then it just became that you then met someone else? Is that how it worked out?
Well, I was single, and I went out one night. I got dragged out.
You dragged out,
actually.
pulled out the house.
I got dragged out to this like hipster club, and there was a guy wearing New Rock boots, and I was wearing this sort of 50s dress and stuck out like a sore thumb.
So you guys instantly knew you had a connection.
And he asked me for a lighter, and he was like obviously into metal and rock music and stuff. So we were chatting, and I got his number. And then basically he came over one day, and I don't think he left ever since.
That's cool. That's cool.
And then somewhere in the middle of that, we got married.
How long did you spend there then? Malaysia's quite. What's the culture like there?
It's a predominantly Muslim country, but it's really very quite liberal-ish. But the government isn't.
Sure.
Well, actually, it is now, but sort of. It's not. It used to be really bad, and now they've got a different prime minister that isn't a complete wanker.
Yeah, you can say wanker really like it's fine.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the politics of Malaysia because that's really complex. But
no, of course there's a lot of turmoil.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like London. Kuala Lumpur's just like London. It's got Starbucks and Clark's shoes and everything normal, you know. And everyone's really friendly there. I would say the people are really laid back. Definitely, like they're nice people. I never ever felt I was, apart from one or two times in a taxi, but they weren't Malaysian drivers. So one or two times I was in a taxi and felt you're not going the right way, are you? And I pointed it out.
They're going to take you to a somewhere.
I'm not going to say where they were from because then I don't want to get in. I don't want to sort of come across as like pointing out or suggesting that people from certain countries are that way.
What I think the fear there is that we almost label stereotypes to people, when of course individuals have their own choices about what they do, regardless of where they come from, and people can act like a dick wherever they come from.
You could also say that sometimes stereotypes come from slight truths.
But they don't, and that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because the stereotype is perpetuated by that type of person because they're all kind of abide by it. I mean, with me, so where I work, of course, I work in the middle of like a multicultural central. So I literally have everybody from Romania, Bulgaria, Russia, Kurdish, students, poet, a massive melting pot of people. So you really do see every demographic. And what's incredible is everyone really does ascribe to their stereotype within that mixing pot. Everyone does.
Well, in Malaysia, there's half of the people there are Chinese, at least. I mean, like, there's a lot of Chinese people there. There's a lot of Indian people there. But as a white person, like, and a white person that's quite alternative, there's not many of me over there. There's plenty of sort of really straight-laced sort of business types.
I was going to say, is it business type mainly?
Yeah, there's a lot of. It's a business centre because of because of its location.
Yeah.
It's a really good sort of port for going in and out of and business. And
sure.
I think I might just be making this up, but I think that they've got one of the largest percentage of millionaires or something ridiculous like that. I don't know, but I did see one Bugatti, and I think it was chrome.
Wow, that's extreme. So look at my car; it's super shiny. You know, it's so shiny I can brush my hair in it. You know. Man, so what took you then? Again, back halfway across the world then to Spain. I mean, because that again is a huge jump in terms of culture.
Okay, well, it's that word, isn't it? It's that word, Brexit.
So you don't want to come back here just in case.
I can't come back there because my husband's Malaysian and I'm not earning 18 grand.
Ah, okay.
So there you go. And I've always liked Spain. Not that I've seen a lot of it, but I've always enjoyed Spanish culture. Basically, I like wine and dancing and olives, so it's
it's a win-win-win there.
And then there was this is weird, but I'm not really into like people who think that not the people, but people who say that they are kind of they can read your past and stuff like that.
They can erase your past. I'm curious to what books you've been reading. Is it hypnosis?
Right. Well, there's this lady, and she was really nice, and she was at this dinner thing with one of my Malaysian friends. It was just a small group of ladies, and I was chatting away to this lady, and she said she does readings, and I was quite intrigued. It's not my thing at all, but I'm open-minded, and I thought that, you know what, sod it, I'm going to have a go at that. So she knew nothing about me, and she knew that I danced, but she didn't know that I had any desire to move to Spain. And she told me that one of my past lives was a flamenco dancer that was from a really hardcore Catholic family in the mountains.
That's
and
quite specific, don't you think?
And that I really wanted to go and dance, and so I left and moved into one of the big cities and ended up becoming a really good dancer. But unfortunately, I died when I was in my early 20s.
Nice,
and afterwards, I said, that's really strange because I'm actually really wanting to move to Spain. And at that time I wasn't definitely going, but and I said maybe it's just a coincidence, I don't know, but I mean it's interesting. But apparently this lady was very tall and beautiful and talented, and I'm definitely not tall. So
I'm curious. So obviously, I've been involved with the unexplained, the paranormal for 15, 20 years now. So I'm very curious about the lady you spoke to. So she managed to tell you that you had a past life as a flamenco dancer. I mean, how did she come across with that? Oh, by the way, I'm linked into your ancient spirit.
I don't know. I guess she can just sense past lives or something. I don't know.
Sense.
There was three, and they were all. Was there 3 or 2? But the other one was another one that was dance related. But that's why I was like, I dance.
Because what normally happens, right? If there was it was Cleopatra.
But she hadn't been on. It's not like she'd had time to go on my Facebook and learn everything about me or anything like that. And I'd never mentioned Spain, so
okay.
I just thought it was interesting.
Okay, so but that led you to make the decision to go, yeah?
Not really. No, I'm not that. I just wanted to go anyway, and then I thought, oh, that's interesting. That maybe I'm going home.
Well, that's an interesting way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah, but as it turns out, I'm not staying.
So you're not staying. So you're not staying in Spain then. So I mean, you said to me earlier that You live in some kind of like portable housing. I think you used the phrase "fucking caravan."
It was I live in a fucking caravan. I like my little tin, but it's a large static caravan.
Okay.
About 50 meters away from my landlord's house, who is an English guy from Manchester.
All right. Okay.
His 50s, I think, and I had issues with my previous landlady. We were living in a wooden hut on a hill, and it was supposed to come with a car, but the car got totaled before we arrived, and it would have been a nightmare living there without a vehicle because it's right up on the campo. The campo's like countryside.
Okay.
Are
you sure the car resisted?
I still live on the campo, but I'm only 20 minutes walk from the town. Now I've got a scooter, so only 10 minutes.
Oh, nice.
Don't tell the police though, because I don't have a license.
So I was going to say, how does that work in Spain? Because I guess you can drive like a scooter over here as long as you've got a provisional. So in Spain, I was like, can you drive?
I hide. I go down the side roads and on the sort of tracks in the campo.
Living dangerous there. I live dangerous. It's all good, man. So
it's only getting to town and back. You know, it's not. I'm not going to go to Barcelona or anything like that. So.
No.
Getting my shopping.
Yeah, get your shopping, put it on the handlebars, scoot back up the hill.
Yeah, exactly.
So dancing. Like, actually, the reason I actually wanted to tap you up was a bit of dancing, right? Because I'm really looking to look after my health better. So I'm looking at all the different people I can talk to who actually might be able to give me some insight into health and breathing and my body and stuff. So it was the reason I actually wanted to talk to you, because I've dance is really powerful and part of your life. So I was looking at, so what would a guy who's like 35, is dancing an option for me?
Of course it's an option. Absolutely it's an option. I know guys that are older than you who do dance, my kind of dance as well, tribal dance. It's really a case of what you have to try something, and then if you get the bug, as we call it, if you get the bug for it, then you stick with it, and if it's not for you, then you find something else. And it isn't for everyone.
Because I'm not going to be doing the flamenco or anything.
Capoeira or something like that.
Yeah, there's quite a few capoeira schools in this city, actually. I mean, I did martial arts.
That's something I've always wanted to do, but I can't commit to bloody everything. So, I want to do everything, and then I'm narcoleptic, so I can't even do half the things that I want to do. And if you do something like that, you've really got to commit some time, and I can't do everything, so I kind of chose not to do it for that reason. But I'd love to do it.
I mean, martial arts is where I have my kind of roots, really. In 1998 to 99, I did kung fu and kickboxing and taekwondo. I became an instructor in kickboxing and taekwondo.
Really?
And then I did
What
karate.
kung fu did you do?
I'm sorry?
Which style of kung fu?
I did Wing Chun.
I used to do Wing Chun, and it just confused the shit out of me. So I did a bit of Jeet Kune Do as well, and that's brutal, and I loved it. But I just tried in Malaysia. I was learning Krav Maga, which is Israeli.
Yes.
And it's so good. It's so good. I love it because there's no rules.
No,
that's my kind. And it's brutal. It's basically hurt the other person in any way you can to stop them from hurting you. And it's good. I recommend it to women because you don't have, with Wing Chun, you have to do all these. You have to really learn it for it to be of use.
Yes.
And it's not very practical. I like kickboxing, but kicking is not very practical on the street. And Krav Maga, I would recommend to any woman, if you can find a Krav Maga class, it's practical and brutal.
Yes.
Nobody will mess with you.
Just on a slight point here, can I just need to check a video setting. I've got my little message popping up in the corner saying my encoder's ring a bit too high. So I'm just going to quickly tweak that a second.
Interviewing, talking to people, maybe reviewing some music, maybe doing some how-tos and that sort of thing, to tribal. So for you, I mean, why don't you go back into martial arts? What for what reason?
I don't know. Mainly time is the problem, really. I hate using that cop-out. I really do.
You need time. I mean, if you did dance, you can do dance just for fun, of course, if you're not really bothered about, nailing the technical side of it. You can just do the fun side of it. But if you wanted to actually learn, then you would definitely need to give it time. Yeah. Obviously.
I guess it's not a time because I don't want to do it. I think I want to do it for health reasons. I want to slim down. I want to feel better. I want my heart to be a bit stronger than it perhaps is right now.
Weight training is what you need, dear.
Oh, it probably is.
I don't mean like beefcake weight training.
Beefcake.
Just weight training and then a high protein, low carb diet.
Okay, I like carbs. Carbs are good.
They make me sleepy, but then I'm already sleepy, so. But they do tend to, even though they give me energy for, as in by default, they give you energy for when you need it. But if I have carbs when I'm not doing anything, they make me sleepy. I don't know why.
Well, so you can, I was going to say, dance, really. I mean, I guess I've in year 5, I played Danny in Greece. I thought I did quite well, but I was like 10, right? So, and I guess I always kind of had that bug for kind of performing and talking and so on. So I really wanted to.
Is this in junior or senior school? Which one? Look how old we are referring to it as senior school and junior school.
It's my last year of primary school.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I kind of always thought I should have pursued that a little bit. Perhaps more than I should have. But obviously, I had family when I was 18. Very silly.
Musical theatre people are really annoying, though. Sorry, musical theatre people. I went and I did a bit of that at college. I love musical theatre because I grew up on musicals and old movies and stuff. But musical theatre people are mental.
Really? What makes you say that? What was your experience?
I went to college with them. Sorry, musical theatre people.
Well, they're a bit oh dear, she's not one of us.
And the people that, if any of you are doing musical theatre, you know what I mean, so I'm right.
Okay. I'm sure they get the message. Man, so I wanted to go into performing arts, I guess, but life kind of led me in other directions where I had to kind of provide money for the family. I went through college, and then I just started working. I haven't stopped working since. So really, I kind of want to do those things that I've been on my bucket list for things to do. My health is, it's not deteriorating, but it's at a point now I'm going, I've really got to look at my body and go, what am I doing about this? It's not good.
Okay, I would suggest for that definitely weights, but you need to have someone guide you through it. It's really, the more muscle mass you have, the faster you burn fat is basically the rule. So one of my friends recently she lost weight loads of times and then put it back on. I don't know if you know Denise. I don't know if you know her. She's a dancer as well. But she does role play, occasionally she dresses up as a Viking and things like that. And she makes amazing costumes. Some of my costumes that you saw, like the rabbit, not the rabbit. It's not a rabbit, it's a donkey. It was the character from Midsummer Night's Dream. It was Bottom, because she had the Puck costume and I was Bottom. So she, a few years ago, she lost a huge amount of weight, but it wasn't in a healthy way. And so she did put it back on again. And like me, she's got problems with sleep, but she's insomniac, and so we're sort of different ends of the spectrum, but same sort of zombiness. And so when you've got a problem with sleep, your metabolism is slow, or like mine is irreversibly damaged as well. But this time she's done weight training and she looks absolutely fantastic, and it'll stick because she's done it in a healthy way, and that is definitely a way that.
Muscle-wise, quite good.
Go down that road, I would do it. It's not exactly like it's fun, but kettlebell and that sort of thing is quite fun.
All right, okay. I'll be sure to get that
combination of weight training and cardio, but definitely that's what you want to do. But get someone fun to train with.
Yeah, maybe that's really what I'm missing. Actually, I'm missing that gym partner who can just also spur me on as well, me kicking their ass too.
be his gym partner. Contact him now.
Yeah, that's seriously, that's a good shout. I need that, really.
Come up with like some crazy ideas for training as well, just something different, like maybe each time you go out you could do something different, rather than, because gym is boring. I used to have a personal trainer, and she was this Polish lady. She was really funny, and I was up for anything. So sometimes we'd be in the gym, and then sometimes we'd be running around the what do they call that ground where the goose fair is? The forest.
Yeah, the forest rack. Yeah.
Yeah. We'd be running up and down the steps and doing squats and things, and then just doing circuits around. But and then I'd throw up everywhere because.
Did you have to? Is it because you had too much coffee beforehand?
I'd throw up because I drank too much water and hadn't eaten in the morning. So.
Not good. Drink more water.
Yeah, so don't do that. Always eat.
Yeah, cause I do hit the gym. Actually, at the forest rack. Actually, I go there pretty often. But I get it. It's that kind of like, sometimes you need to be motivated by someone else being there. As you see them working, you're working. As they're working, they're seeing you work. And sometimes you just want someone to spot you, as opposed to just going there to the gym 2 hours at a time and get kind of bored now.
Yeah, and as I mentioned when we spoke in Messenger before, I am the queen of procrastination and avoidance. So I do have problems with training and things on a regular basis, partly because of narcolepsy and partly because of procrastination. They may or may they may or may not be
guest star there.
I don't know.
So narcolepsy. It's a word I guess I've heard a few times. What is it for someone who lives with it? What's it about? How does it affect you?
How does it affect me? Shall I explain what it is first?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. So what narcolepsy, for someone who doesn't know, I'll pretend I don't know. What's it about?
They're now saying that it's probably autoimmune, and it's a neurological disorder. Basically, some of the part of your brain controls your sleep-wake regulating system, and that area it's an area of the brain in the hypothalamus, and there's an area in the hypothalamus that controls your sleep-wake regulating system, and I believe your metabolism as well is in that area, and that part of my brain is fucked.
So is that
basically, I don't have these. There's these cells called hypocretin or orexin, and my brain just doesn't have a lot of those anymore. So my brain doesn't know how to keep me awake, which means that my entire sleep-wake regulating system, my circadian rhythm, is all back to front. I experience stuff that should happen only when you're asleep, when I'm awake, and vice versa.
That's interesting. That really is. I mean, I didn't actually realize it was
one
how
of the interesting ones, to be fair.
Yeah. So what does it do? Does it effectively just make you sleepy because your body wants to hit its cycle, but while you're awake?
My brain just doesn't know what's going on with sleep. I'm always tired. It's like that switch is always on the off switch, so I'm always fighting tiredness. I'm on bin loads of medication. They haven't figured out anything else yet. So
have you tried taking all the medication away? So your body gets it. Have you tried taking all the medication away as opposed to having medication to do with such?
Not on purpose, but when I've been without it because it didn't arrive, or something like that for a couple of weeks, and I know it takes a while for it to fully get out of your system, but to be honest, the symptoms are so unbearable. I would really not rather be on the planet if I have to live like that, because I get paralysis.
Okay.
I get full body paralysis constantly, so I can't even, get from the bedroom to the bathroom without collapsing. And paralysis is when it's just not. It's not pleasant. I'd rather just take medication until the day that they come up with something better. I like my life being able to walk and move and speak.
Man, because I would challenge a person's day entirely. So how have you managed to? And obviously, I know that you've done dance for so long. Has that really been your outlet to deal with that? I mean, to kind of give your body energy, to be enthused, to be empowered, or is it because you couldn't take on other tasks that perhaps a person who wasn't always tired would have done? Is that why you did dance?
No, I danced as a child before I became narcoleptic when I was 7. I was already dancing hardcore, like it was my life. Dance and music was my life from like 3 years old.
Okay.
I was one of those weird kids who was already like on stage performing at 3, and writing music when I was like 7. So yeah, by the time I got that, I still wanted to continue with that, but I didn't know what was wrong with me. And eventually, when I was 12, when I was diagnosed, I guess that's when I really did give everything up. I fell back on the music and became a miserable grunger and wrote moody songs.
And moody songs are great. Look how far we got Kurt Cobain.
It coincided with the grunge era.
Hey, that was an era, you know, a grunge rock, a good music, man. Look what we're stuck with these days.
I had to quit dancing because my cataplexy, which is the paralysis symptom, it was so severe. And no, dancing, unfortunately, obviously it's good for my mental health and it's good for your body. But actually with narcolepsy, the catch-22 is that any kind of physical movement can trigger cataplexy. So, I mean, I could stand up, not now because I've had my medication, but if I hadn't, and I got up suddenly and walked across the room, I could just collapse straight away. So, and if I'm spinning or something like that, I can just collapse. So, and even though, like the other week, I was outside hula hooping, knowing that I hadn't been well for a few days, but being me, decided it was a great idea. So I was outside hula hooping, and then straight away my body just started to feel weak, and I was like, "Oh, for God's sake, I can't even do the shit that I like without collapsing." So,
man, how many people do you think that affects?
Prevent it. It just stops me from going insane.
So, how many people do you think that actually affects overall? Say, like, I don't know. Take like, say, example, the UK, where there's like 72 million people.
They say it's 2 in. Okay, I apologise if it's wrong, but I think it's 2 in 10,000.
Okay. Because I get that there's what I'm thinking about. There's a lady at work who has something very similar. I'm kind of wondering, I wonder if she's ever been diagnosed because she appears to exert those kind of symptoms as well. And I might just tap her up and go, is this the kind of thing you get?
There are other illnesses that because narcolepsy is very specific, and so it's a lot of people only know about the tiredness aspect, and there's 3 or 4 major symptoms that kind of are the that you kind of have to have all of those, except for the cataplexy. Not all narcoleptics have that, and I have it really bad when I'm not on meds. Like, I've got super cataplexy. It's actually called status cataplecticus, which is a bit of a mouthful, and you definitely can't say it when you're having an attack.
Okay, this is what's happening to me.
It could be a number of things. So, I'm no doctor, and not with cataplexy, it's definitely narcolepsy. Without cataplexy, it could be a number of things.
Okay, yeah, she's constantly tired, and she's frequently very late to work because her body says she can't get up and she can't get out of bed and she can't motivate herself too much.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that sounds really similar.
She definitely should see a sleep specialist, or there's sleep specialists in the UK. So anybody that's suffering from any of those symptoms, you need to see a sleep specialist, and don't just take a no from your GP either, because they're full of shit. And most of them don't know what narcolepsy is. I usually have to explain it all to them.
The craziest thing is I haven't been to the doctors for anything other than getting a referral in the last couple of years or so. But before that, I always found when I got there, they were using Google to work out what it is that was going on. I'm like, that ain't right. And if this is a doctor who's trained in certain aspects, I get that the medical field is a vast thing. Yeah, but they're sat there Googling stuff, and I'm going,
they don't know everything, though. There's so many things. But yeah, I always felt like I knew more than they did. But that's not surprising to me because they just don't learn about that particular. So you'll find one in like flipping 1 in 30 doctors that I meet like is really clued up on it, and the rest of them barely know what it is at all, and go, "Oh, I've heard of that. It's very interesting." Or they just might not have had a narcoleptic patient. That might be the reason.
Yeah, maybe as simple as that. Yeah, that's crazy to think that that's actually the case. Then,
like, I'm sorry if anyone's GP, but for me, I could do that job. They get so well paid. I could do that job. I could probably do that job because I know I've got a lot of sick friends, so I know a lot.
I've got a lot of sick friends.
They're pretty clued up on various ailments, like mental illness and physical ailments. I'm pretty clued up. I could do that job, but I couldn't go through the university because I'm narcoleptic. So, damn it!
Oh man, there's always like one thing that just screws you over every time.
Maybe I should go down the Saul Goodman route and just like get an online certificate or something.
No, you can just pin them to the wall and just pretend you've got them. They're not real.
Yeah, I have certificates on my wall, but they're not.
So do I.
For that. They're
Ah, man. So, oh wow. So dance. I mean, you used to speak about your dance troupe and how passionate you were with them. So that was the ATS style, because I'm aware there's lots of different forms of dance, right? So, and there's probably more dance variants than there are languages. So
different styles of belly dance. Like there's, you don't when you think of belly dance, you think instantly you've got this image of a lycra clad lady in a restaurant or something
doing a shimmer,
and then when you kind of get to know a few, now I know you know a few tribal belly dancers, so once you start doing it, you're like, oh, there's other styles, and there's styles for freaks like me that have tattoos and piercings and don't look like Barbie. No offense to that style, because that style.
No.
No offense to the dancers of cabaret and rakshaki, but I love it. It's beautiful, and it's what I learned, and it's why I have a passion for belly dance. But obviously, I don't look the part, and tribal for me is, it was immediately like. It was when I first saw it. Immediately, I knew that was my style. I mean, the aesthetic alone was there's kind of gothic looking people doing it. Obviously, I'm going to go down that road.
Yeah. So what specific? I mean, I guess if you to say certain dances are different, that makes sense. But so what is different, say, between a tribal style or a togi style? What is the main difference? Is it the movements themselves? Are they done differently? Is there a different emphasis with your body and your poise?
They are slightly different, even though. For example, maybe in normal belly dance, you might do your arm very soft like that, and in tribal, it's very muscular, like a snake. Okay. It's a lot more muscular. In ATS, the movements are sometimes big, but especially with hip bumps and things, and the aesthetic is very different. And ATS is obviously a language in itself, so that's what sets that apart from all the other styles. It's actually a language of movements. Okay. Rather than choreography, you learn a language and it's improvised. Whereas, they're all Turkish is very up and quite, and then there's more earthy styles, and to your average person, I guess you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell one from the other unless someone explained it. But certainly the costuming would look different.
Yeah, cause I guess my mental equation of that is in martial arts, again, to a trained eye, you notice there's a huge difference. So the truth is, we can only do certain types of movements. We've only got 2 arms and 2 legs. If we had a third one, I'm sure martial arts would be very different. So.
I'm just trying to imagine that. You could stand on your middle leg. I'm just imagining.
I already do.
Let's not go down that road. You could stand on one leg and then kick people either side.
Oh, very well. I'm just so the whole movement range would change. So I can understand what you're saying there really well, because obviously I do only have 2 arms and 2 legs. So regardless of what style one does, whether it be Jeet-Kune-Do, whether it be Krav Maga, whether it be praying mantis, again, the movements are very. They come from a an understanding, a language or of movement, or they're actually done in reverence to an event or a story, like in Taekwondo, or what's called the toes, which are the kind of the kata forms. They all tell a story of an event that the person who created it went through. In terms of yes, in terms of its movements and how many there was and the positions that he holds. So yeah, I found myself kind of attracted to that, really. That there's a depth and a to that system. You are still smoking on screen, by the way. It's fine.
Story based, you know.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because you go to a kids class, and it's like turn left for this and do a punch over here, and that's it.
Kata 2, Kata 3, Kata 4, and they don't explain where I always wanted to know where the movements came from and what are they for.
Yeah.
But where it just taught you how to do them.
Yeah, I
didn't like that. I wanted to kind of know what they were for and why they exist.
I think
I'm one of them.
I think there's a difference, isn't there, between being shown and being taught and having learning, isn't there? There's a very difference there. But then you look at, say, styles like
the right teacher.
Yeah, there's the right teacher. Then you get styles like jiu-jitsu and so on, which has now become like the basis of UFC, brilliant Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and you see that ground-based style, that stand-up, facing off against each other. And I guess in dance is much the same. You must have perhaps there's a base style perhaps that everyone kind of falls a greater connection with. Would you say that's the case?
I guess that everything comes from. I mean, the origins of belly dance are quite vague because they came from lots of different places and sort of travelled around a lot, and then travelled through time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, belly dance is belly dance, and then there's different styles. It travelled through time and evolved, and then, but tribal fusion has to kind of have tribal, otherwise it's not tribal fusion, it's just fusion. And then, you know, but tribal still has the belly dance movements in, you know, you've still got your shimmy and your hip bump and your chest movements and your isolations. And so, the way we do them is slightly different, but they all have the same origin. We still respect it. We respectfully borrow movements from other styles as well. And particularly in tribal, we have a lot of flamenco within the arm movements.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, we have the floreos, which is obviously from flamenco, and it's again, the way that we do it is slightly different, but it's a lot bigger and more expressive and, you know, angry or sad in flamenco. It's very passionate. It's more refined, I would say, in tribal.
Man, mine, I've got two stories going in my head there. What's coming to me is one is from Moulin Rouge, the movie, where you have that very powerful story of they did the flamenco together, and Roxanne, the song. Oh, beautiful! The way that's done, that movie. That's done to a flamenco style. But actually, I did a presentation about 2013, 2014, and it was about the connections between the Tahathdi Danan culture, which is kind of the ancient culture of Ireland, and Greece and the Mediterranean. So there's quite a lot of similarities in regards to their origins of what they consider to be their ancient culture. So although I was researching the Tahathdi Danan, which is the culture there, and their god, the Tahathdi Danan, yeah, they were the ancient culture of Ireland. They allegedly came from an island off the west coast of Ireland, came to Ireland, and then took over, and then created the Irish language and taught them mathematics and science and agriculture, and defeated a race of giants while they were there. But interestingly enough, they have a few things within that culture. So they have a dance called the Ratadam, which is very similar to the flamenco in terms of its movement. They have bagpipes that again are found in Morocco, are found also in Scotland. It's exactly the same bagpipe in the movement. And there's three particular clans who are found in Morocco and in the Mediterranean who also sound very similar to the Scottish clans like MacDougall and McGonagall. And then they think at some point in history there would have been a movement of ships, perhaps from the Mediterranean up to the Irish coast, doing trade way back when, much older than they ascribe to. where effectively the basis of the language of the movement is where that's coming from. So when I was thinking about you saying that the flamenco, I was like, oh yeah, I can see that in Irish dancing, also in Scottish dancing as well. And I guess even Morris dancing has this kind of interesting, kind of floaty, uplifting movement. And I've seen that in Danish dancing as well. And the whole crossover between cultures brings movements, emotions that, people recognise. Oh, I'll do that as well and add this to my stuff. And you find that there's this whole kind of a natural, organic development of movement.
Yeah, and there's this thing, and there's a few years ago, and even now, you started to get all these really annoying articles about cultural appropriation, and to be honest, I think it's horseshit. I mean, obviously,
how dare you dress up like an Indian?
There's your cases where celebrity cases where they're just being inappropriate and slightly ignorant.
Yeah.
But within dance and art and the arts, it's like you can't really do that because cultures cross over, and I think if you want to learn the dances of another culture and then go back home and perform them, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and it's not appropriation. And you'll find that usually the people whose dance that you're doing usually love the fact that you're doing it.
Yeah.
I studied classical Indian dance as well, and when I was in Malaysia and with one of my friends, she's a dancer from Germany, and we were doing a photo shoot in this near this Hindu really popular tourist spot. It's like it's in a big cave with this huge statue, and we were in full-on saris. There's more than 100 steps. I think it's 130 steps or something. You have to climb up to get to the cave. We were in these saris, and all the Indian ladies loved it. They were coming out. I think they thought we might be TV people or something, but they all wanted their photo taken with us, and they absolutely love the fact that we're that we are celebrating their style and doing, and they don't care that it's white girls in saris doing Indian dance or you don't dance in a sari, by the way, but we were just wearing that for the photo shoot. But they loved it, and it's only I don't know, it's just other people that seem to go, oh no, that's wrong, you can't do that. And it's like, why not? Everyone should share. Culture is something to share and celebrate. Yeah. Not something to keep to yourself. It's otherwise no one's allowed to eat fish and chips, right?
No. That's very much.
We're not allowed to eat fish and chips. That's ours.
That's an English dish. But you start looking about like certain dishes that are allegedly from other countries, and actually, in fact, they come from here, like curry. Curry is an English creation.
More or less. I mean, one of them is anyway.
Yeah,
but we didn't have. Well, we kind of got our spices from there, though. So.
Yeah, of course we did.
It was a necessary crossover.
Yeah, but that's exactly how it is. You can say, "Oh, I'll take some of that, mix it together. Oh, this isn't new," and then this is good. This is no. And it's like you say, dance is cross cultural. Like you say there, how there should be a veneration, an idea, what's the word? No, I hate to use the word appropriation because that really is the wrong word. I mean, I guess it's celebration, if anything. It's like
that's what I do. It's. I think that as long as you're not doing it in an inappropriate way and just borrowing it. I mean, even then, it's like as long as you're not being offensive with it and not and mocking it or something, and as long as you. I think that for me. I put time into studying and learning about the origins of my dance, and so I obviously, I'm that for me means that I'm doing it respectfully, and I care about where it came from, and I was going to say something before, I can't remember what now. I think that people are afraid of losing the origin. I think they're afraid that it's going to get ruined or tainted or spoiled if it loses its original form.
I guess at the same time, that also is very relevant too.
And that, but again, it's like, as long as people keep wanting to learn about the origins, and yes, that's important, definitely. But there's also nothing wrong with fusing things and changing things.
No, of course not.
As long as you also learn about where it came from.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I do think there is something about an identity that can be lost. And if you lose the identity, it seems to have no value where it came from. I mean, I've got a friend who lives over in Sweden. They're struggling really bad right now with the challenge of multiculturalism. I hate to use that in that way, but that is something that they're really struggling with over there. And they are. He was telling me how he was really upset. He literally rang me crying, right? And what he told me is that they are destroying our Viking heritage. That was the phrase he used. He says, but I don't mean that in a cultural way. He says, what I'm trying to say is that our government is melting down Viking material. Because they say, yeah, he said it was a museum on the west coast. He said I couldn't believe it. He says they literally have got our stuff.
Vikings were Norway. Are they Sweden as well?
They are. Yes, it's a whole Scandinavian peninsula up there that kind of Vikings have found all. It's just what they're doing is they're emptying. His description was they're emptying the museum and they're melting down our culture, is what he says. For no reason. He says that no one understands what our culture once was because we're no longer allowed to identify or celebrate it because it's seen as offensive. And I was like, what do you mean?
Right.
So to venerate any kind of nationalism of any kind is now seen as a very negative thing, and you shouldn't have any identity before that because it no longer has any value anymore. And he was so upset by this. This actually left a bit of an impression on me.
Say things like that in England about, I'm not allowed to be British because then I'm a racist, and that's bollocks, really. But I'm, it's sad to hear that that's actually happening in places like, because I think it's really important to protect any culture. Definitely. I think it's sad when languages die and things like that.
It is, yeah. I mean, when things are lost. I mean, there's an interesting correlation there. Like within London and Birmingham now, the English actually and British is then now the minority within that in London. I mean, it's like 62% foreign national, which is just a crazy thing to consider.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, we've always been kind of a mix anyway.
Of course we have. We've always been open to culture. Always been open to. I guess
it's like Americans saying that they're going on about like protecting who they are, but like who they are was wiped out with the native Americans. So they didn't want to protect who they were or the origins of their country.
It's always interesting to hear that.
Wiped it out, and we were partly responsible for that.
Yes,
Sorry.
But no, we were. But this happened, many hundreds of years ago. But are we now responsible for that? Should we be apologising?
No, but I mean, what, me and you? No, of course not. But we know that we. But let's be fair. We kind of gave all the countries back and hanged our head in shame and went, "Sorry for taking over. It's cold here."
But so on that note, then you say you look at somewhere, say like Japan and Hong Kong, they kind of embrace British culture, and their culture is now very different because of it.
Yeah, but Japan is very well. Japan is Japan. Then you go there, and they are very, very, very proud of their culture.
Very much so.
If you try to live there, it's difficult for you to integrate. It's a wonderful place and really amazing people, but they're really proud of their culture, and there's no way you're going to hack that. Well, you're not going to change them. They are so proud of their culture, and I think that's nice as well.
It is. Well, no, actually, what my description there was how they embrace British culture, and actually the fact everyone wears a suit. It's a very British thing to do. Everyone.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, and
I guess that's like a business thing, though. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that because I don't see Japan that way at all.
No, I mean it's not a place I've ever been. It's certainly a place that's on my bucket list of places to go for sure. I mean, I've always wanted to go to Shinjuku.
My husband was there last month with his band,
Wow, man.
He was there touring for a week.
Fantastic. Yeah. Should have tapped me up. How'd it gone?
I wanted to go, but one of us had to look after the fur kids.
Oh.
So, if anyone wants me to come over to dance and teach,
I was going to say, how is the you said you were considering teaching again now in terms of in Spain. So how is that going?
Oh, I am teaching, but I've had to kind of water it down to make it more accessible.
Okay.
Although yesterday I did sneak in some ATS because I only had one student, so I was like, screw it, let's do some ATS. And then it wasn't until afterwards that I told her that it was ATS.
So what was their reaction to that? Were they like, "Oh, that's new"?
She loved it. She loved it.
That's cool.
They always do. But I think if I tell them, I think if I just advertise it as that it would scare people away, because it's like people don't want to learn dance. It's quite intensive, and having to go every week and learn something is not always something that everyone can do. And so I've made it more of a fitness thing,
okay.
And a fusion fitness. So it's like we dance to all types of music, a lot of Daft Punk and stuff like that. And then I'll do tribal fusion and make it more about the fun and fitness aspect. And then once they got into it, maybe they do ask me about, are we learning technique? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to focus on the technique, but yes, I'll teach you the technique if you want to learn the technique.
That's good. That's an interesting way to teach people. It's like, here's the accessibility option, and then here's something a bit more advanced on what we're actually learning behind that. That's good.
Yeah, you have to do that here because, I mean, I live in a really small town, and there's not that, I don't have a wide
network of people? Okay. But I guess that's the thing with a small town, isn't it? I guess it might be like, maybe a couple of thousand people?
One town. I think it's like 6,000 or something.
Okay. But so I guess, but within that, you'll find people who you've never come across yet.
Yeah. I don't know for sure, but I think there's a larger population of men here. I don't know if that's true, but it seems that way. And there's a lot of Moroccans here as well.
Okay.
A lot of Moroccans here. So yeah, I'd say like half of the town is Moroccan.
And dance isn't quite their thing, right?
They're the people that I hang out with. So.
But what about their dance? I mean, do they also like go, this is what we do on a Saturday night, we break it down and do this?
They do like to dance sometimes.
Well, not on the tables and little jig. I mean, is there actually any technique behind what they're doing?
I've been to barbecues and things with people, and they do like to have a bit of a dance here.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love Moroccan culture as well because of their, their jewelry and stuff. Like, I just want to go shopping there. But I like the arts and dance from their culture, and I definitely need to visit because it's only next door, and I should go before I move again because I'm moving next year.
All right, so Bulgaria. Wow, that's a big choice. That is. Like, so in terms of where I work, there's a lot of Bulgarians who come to my workplace in my area, and they're very, very, I'd hate to use the word bold, imposing. They like to push their way past things, and I guess maybe that is
right? They're fierce but lovable.
Yeah, I get the feeling that they are. If you're not first in line, you might not get what it is that's being offered or whatever. So they like to just barge past you and like, well, they always seem like good people.
I don't think they mean it in a kind of like mean
no,
way.
not at all.
They're all like they're just a bunch of alphas. Like they're just like they're quite fierce.
Yes,
I think they're quite fierce people, but also they're really lovely and particularly within the small communities like the villages where there's not much else around them. Like everyone is connected, and like I would hope that was like here, but it's not. Here is just like here is just everyone knows everyone else's business, and not in a good way.
No.
And I'm often the butt of the gossip going around because I'm the only interesting thing for miles.
I was going to say, everyone around here doesn't care, but she's pretty, she can dance, she's a rock chick. What's that about?
Apparently interesting. So yeah, we're going to set up a yoga dance retreat in Bulgaria next year.
That's pretty cool.
Me and my friend Nancy, the same lady that invited me to teach and perform in Malaysia the first time.
All right, cool.
So we've remained friends, and she wants me to be part of her. We both have the same vision, and that is my ultimate dream anyway, is to set up a yoga dance retreat and host people from all over the world.
Oh, that sounds pretty cool.
So that's now what I'm doing.
Do you have a name for this yet, or is that still in the works?
No, we don't have a name yet. We don't have a name yet. I keep saying to her, I need a name for the website. If I'm going to set up the website, I need a name.
Yes, I guess to attract attention, you have to have something that goes, that's them.
Yeah, I mean, I would just go with, Bulgaria yoga dance or something like that. I don't know.
They might actually think you're Bulgarian. But no, look, keep me tapped up on that. Cause I'll certainly be one of your customers, as it were.
Yeah, we're going to host a few retreats every year.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. A new chapter again. I like change.
Change is good. I think some people don't adapt to change very well. But if you go with the flow and keep your heads up and just see what happens, and you can also have a plan within that as well.
I'm like a cat. I just kind of I can move around and then I sleep where my home is wherever I lay.
Yeah.
I'm like a cat. Yeah, my husband is less, so he's more like a dog. He's just like, what's going on? Why are we here? Where's my mum?
Where is Mr. Fluffy today? What's he doing?
He's asleep right now and snoring away. Yeah. He's normally up by now, actually.
You go wake him up, see if he's all right. He might not be breathing.
No, he is. I can hear him snoring.
just jump in and elbow drop him.
You might pick it up on the mic. I don't know.
No, I've got to go get some coffee.
Time.
I'm missing breakfast. He missed out on coffee and chocolate.
Noodles.
Noodles.
Noodle breakfast.
The ideal nutritious breakfast. The breakfast of champions.
In Malaysia, they have nasi lemak. Is like it's a rice dish. They have it for breakfast every day. Like it's coconut rice with like a sambal paste, and then they have a boiled egg with it, and some sort of like nuts on top, and a slice of cucumber. And that's what they have. That's their kind of
traditional breakfast.
Everyday breakfast, yeah.
Not quite the whole English of sausage and bacon and beans and.
But we don't all have that every day, right?
No. I think I might have that maybe once a week, maybe once a fortnight, maybe.
I don't even have it. I mean, I don't eat meat anymore anyway, but I don't even have it. I have it like more when I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Like if I'm traveling and I'm tired, and then I'm like, I'm gonna treat myself, or if I'm in an airport or something, and it's very rare that I'll cook it. It's so rare that I do that at home. Maybe I'll have it at my dad's house if I go to England.
Sure. So I think there's still more to throw in there. So I'm sure I'll have you on as a guest another time. So that sounds cool. If you're up for that, I think we've enjoyed a good conversation as well.
Oh, definitely. I would love to do it again.
Fantastic. Okay, Beatrice. Okay. As a question, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Have a good week, So, is there, if you want to hand out any contact details about your dance and your retreats and stuff, is there any way people can get in contact with you if you'd like them to?
I'm on Facebook as Beatrice Flowers, and I don't. There is a page for the yoga dance thing, but we've got to change the page name, so I can just be contacted as Beatrice Flowers. I have two pages, one that you like and one that you add me, so just do both of those. My website beatriceflowers.com hasn't been updated in a while, so and you can also contact me by email at smileandshimmy@gmail.com. That's easy to remember.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. Well, Beatrice, I'll tell you, take care. have a good time, and I'm sure I'll see you in the future very soon.
Have a good day.
Take care. See you soon, darling.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much for taking the time out to join me here today. I really do appreciate it. But if I could just ask one more thing of you, you could just press like, dislike, leave a comment, or press subscribe. You could do any on all of those things, and it allows me to know whether I'm producing the kind of content that you want to listen to. I do produce a variety of content, especially on YouTube and out into the world of social media. So please, if you would, thank you very much. I'm Kristian Lander. Until next time.